Welcome to this explainer on the tectonic shift we saw on April 30th, 2026. We are officially done with the era of AI software hype, and we've abruptly woken up to the gritty reality of infrastructure and security warfare. This is a moment that is completely redefining the future of technology, and honestly, we have an incredible amount of ground to cover today, so let's just jump right in. $725 billion. Let that sink in for a second. That is the projected capital expenditure on AI infrastructure by just 4 American tech giants in 2026 alone. Alphabet, Meta, Microsoft, and Amazon collectively reported more than $130 billion in Q1 capex, and projections show they're on track to burn through this historic $725 billion by the end of the year. Meta alone actually raised its annual spending forecast to somewhere between $125 and $145 billion. This is just a massive fire hose of capital flowing directly into data centers, NVIDIA chips, and the staggering energy required to run them. To untangle all this chaos, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to look at the AI infrastructure war, the data center robotics revolution, the quantum encryption crisis, the global AI Cold War, and finally, the new rules of tech investment. Section 1. The AI Infrastructure War. Welcome to the trillion-dollar era. To really wrap your head around the sheer scale of this, check this out. Microsoft alone is projecting a $190 billion spend for 2026. That is literally more than double Russia's entire 2025 military budget of $84 billion. And they're spending it just on artificial intelligence infrastructure. It's wild to think about. But Microsoft's server spend is higher than the entire GDP of countries like Hungary or New Zealand. Meanwhile, Google Cloud saw its revenue jump 63%, and Amazon's AWS is pulling in massive growth. So the crucial takeaway here is that AI is fundamentally reshaping global supply chains for steel, power, cooling systems, and obviously chips. It's widening the gap between the nations and companies that have compute and those that don't. The companies that control the physical infrastructure, they are effectively going to control the AI economy. If you can't access this advanced compute power, you're absolutely going to fall behind in the next decade. Section 2. The data center robotics revolution. We have to build faster. Okay, so with hundreds of billions flowing into physical infrastructure, the immediate bottleneck is actually building the data centers. Enter SoftBank's newly launched Rose AI. They're using a fleet of 200 robots, leveraging SoftBank's recent acquisition of ABB Robotics to totally upend construction timelines. Look at the comparison here. Traditional manual builds take 12 to 18 months and lack pinpoint accuracy. Rose AI brings that down to just 4 to 6 months with half-millimeter precision, cutting costs by up to 40%. It's an absolute game changer. Because every single week of delay costs millions in lost compute capacity, executives are already eyeing a jaw-dropping $100 billion valuation for Rose AI's IPO in the second half of 2026. I mean, any technology that can slash 20 to 30% of costs or time in a $700 billion infrastructure market is inherently worth billions. If they capture just 10% of the US data center construction market, that valuation isn't just a pipe dream, it's entirely achievable. Section 3. The quantum encryption crisis. The invisible emergency. Now we need to take a hard pivot from physical build-outs to something genuinely terrifying. The timeline for Q-Day, that's the moment quantum computers shatter our current encryption, has compressed from decades away down to just 4 years from now. In April 2026, an independent researcher won a whole Bitcoin by breaking a 15-bit key, which is 512 times larger than the previous public demo just 7 months prior. And shockingly, new research shows a 2048-bit RSA encryption key could be broken with fewer than 100,000 physical qubits. Forrester is now reporting that fault-tolerant quantum computing is plausible by 2030. The industry is officially panicking. Anthropic just launched a defensive coalition called Project Glasswing, and Cloudflare has rapidly accelerated its post-quantum target to 2029. You absolutely have to understand this concept. Harvest now, decrypt later. If you're encrypting sensitive information today that needs to stay confidential for 10 years, it is likely already too late. Hackers are literally vacuuming up encrypted data right now, just sitting on it, until they have the quantum power to unlock it. According to the 2026 Status Data Threat Report, 61% of organizations rank this exact strategy as their absolute top quantum concern. The threat isn't some distant sci-fi future. It is happening right now. And let's be totally honest, we are failing to protect data even before quantum computers arrive. Just look at this devastating ransomware attack on Sandhills Medical. Nearly 170,000 patients were compromised by the Inc. ransomware group. Because healthcare systems are outdated and their budgets are incredibly stretched, they're sitting ducks. Think about it. If we can't even protect hospital data today, imagine the chaos when quantum computers break internet-wide encryption. Section 4. The Global AI Cold War. The Geopolitical Split. Because of this intense infrastructure and security panic, the global AI ecosystem is rapidly fracturing right down strict geopolitical lines. We're seeing two very distinct blocks form. For example, Goldman Sachs is actively restricting Anthropic usage for its bankers over in Hong Kong. Meanwhile, China's AI leader, DeepSeek, is pivoting heavily to domestic Huawei chips to cut their dependence on NVIDIA. Global companies now have to navigate entirely separate regional strategies depending on where they operate. This is becoming a massive headache for international businesses. U.S. House committees are literally probing startups like Airbnb and Anysphere over their use of Chinese AI models. Companies are being forced into this impossible choice between operating globally and staying geopolitically compliant. You can no longer just assume a simple borderless global reach. Choosing which models you use and where you store your data is fundamentally going to dictate which markets you're even allowed to operate in. Section 5. New Rules of Tech Investment. The Execution Phase. So how is Wall Street reacting to all of this hardware and security reality? They are aggressively rewarding execution. Anthropic is currently in advanced talks for a frankly mind-boggling $900 billion valuation. With their Claude Opus 4.7 absolutely dominating coding benchmarks, investors are throwing in preemptive offers totaling $50 billion, betting they could seriously challenge or even surpass OpenAI. Meanwhile, IBM is launching its own AI coding platform, Bob, focused strictly on governed, highly secure enterprise code. It's all about proving massive, tangible ROI. What you're looking at here is a complete vibe shift in the market. We are way past the AI for everything phase. Sure, foundation models remain extremely hot, but the smart money is pouring into operational efficiency, provable revenue, and hardened security infrastructure. Notice that rising critical urgency in crypto and quantum security investments? That's the market waking up to the threats we just talked about. Let's look at the actual receipts. Startups like Rogo and Natomi are successfully raising massive rounds precisely because they are solving specific, expensive, and data-heavy operational problems inside large companies, not just making flashy demos. Rogo just pulled in $160 million to automate heavy investment banking workflows, and Natomi locked down $110 million for highly reliable enterprise customer service. Plus, MoonPay just acquires Sodot for $100 million to eliminate single points of failure in digital asset management. Like I said, it is entirely about execution and security now. All right, let's pull all these threads together. The undeniable takeaway from today's analysis is that surviving the leap to 2030 requires mastering three things: physical infrastructure, quantum-level security, and geopolitical independence. If an organization fails to adapt to these three pillars, they are simply going to be left in the dust. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a rather uncomfortable but totally necessary question. Think about your own company's preparedness in a world where the future of warfare is already being fought inside our data centers. Are you actually ready for 2030? Are you already a silent victim of harvest now, decrypt later? It's something we all need to be asking ourselves. Thank you so much for learning with us today. Keep questioning, keep preparing, and I will see you in the next explainer.